Indeed, in my own, the range of different applications of AI in the automotive industry, really interesting. My own organization is training 120,000 car collision repair experts in North America as we speak. You never know where this industry is going to take you. Thank you again, Dr. Hanan. So, it is easy to get caught away with thinking about AI as something in the abstract, something as a topic for research, as something perhaps even magical or fanciful or divorced from real-world applications. So I'm delighted our next session is going to bring us right back down to earth. The title of our next presentation is Delving into Real-World Use Cases, not fanciful theories of how advanced data platforms are the key to unlocking the full potential of AI in Qatar. I am delighted to be joined on stage by Shams Hasan, who is the country manager of the Gulf for Vast Data. Shams, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Oh, I need a clicker. Is this the clicker? Okay, awesome. Gentleman left, but he was talking about AI readiness. He's going to love this session. Also, building on what the last speaker was speaking about, it's not about just the CTOs needing to be ready. A lot of times, especially this arms race that is artificial intelligence, is moving so fast, sometimes it's not enough to try and be a know-it-all in the space of AI. It is very important to understand the philosophies of being a learn-it-all. And in that philosophy, sometimes it's very good to find the right partners. So, with that said, I do want to say thank you to all of you to start off with. We are not one of the big players that are outside of here in terms of brands that you may know. So, also to pulse check the audience, see how many of them are awake. This is a trick question. There's only two answers, yes or no. How many of you know Vast Data? Raise your hands. Big hint to the rest. That means you raise your hands on the next question. How many of you don't know Vast Data? Raise your hands. I will not look. There's about 10 people who did not raise their hands either way. So they're in the quantum dimension. But anyway, thank you all of you for welcoming us. Not a lot of people know Vast Data. And here I am trying to talk about a very big subject. So I do want to start off only by telling you, why should you listen to us? A lot of people here have talked about AI readiness. A lot of people have probably talked to you about the buzzword that is AI. I'm here to tell you that's the wrong thing to focus on. The gentleman before me also talked about the importance of being able to help people understand what exactly they should be doing in terms of their readiness in AI. I'm here to tell you how you can basically do that by focusing on the right things. Now, why you should listen to us. Vast Data is a startup. Not a lot of people who are new to AI know about it, but every player in the industry who is playing in this space knows of Vast Data. We help the foundational model builders to the enterprise model deployers, from HSBC to ServiceNow. How many of you know XAI? Raise your hands. How many of you know Elon Musk? Raise your hands. How many of you don't know Elon Musk? One person doesn't know if they do or do not know, but that's okay. XAI is Elon Musk's big play. Huge, 19 days, 100,000 GPUs. Works with Vast Data. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Vast. I'm here to talk to you about stuff that is interesting. This is the full stack solution of tomorrow's AI pipeline. We were talking about AI readiness. This is the picture you want. There's another slide that talks about our company there. I ignored it on purpose. We're here to talk to you about this. This is what it looks like when you want to do end-to-end. A lot of people are going to come and they're going to talk to you about one of the pieces here, one of the pieces there, doing it sovereign cloud, sovereign on-prem, on the cloud somewhere else. Irrelevant. This is what you should be thinking about when it comes to readiness. So let's talk about. You have all good? No. And by the way, feel free to interrupt, raise your hand, scream, ask questions in the middle. I don't like just talking and then Q&A afterwards, all right? I know how much time I think I have. There's no clock here, by the way. Moving on. Clicker, please work. Now, when you looked at that picture, what did you think? Does that look complicated? We're going to keep doing the pulse check, yes? Hands? Somebody said yes, yes, yes. It looks very complicated, right? Anybody else? Just looks easy? Raise your hands if it looks easy. Nice. I need to talk to you afterwards. It does look complicated. I want to challenge all of you. Let's see if this clicker works. I've blanked the screen. I want to ask you all to work with me and imagine through an analogy. Ready? Let's all of us build the best car in the world. We all drive cars. We all either have sat on cars. We know what cars are. Tell me, what is the best navigation system we can put on a car? Give me a company. Huh? Waze. Okay, fine. Give me the best, safest car brand in the world. Volkswagen. Everybody says, no, sorry, Volvo. Yes, Volvo. You're right. Okay, luxurious seating and everything. Rolls-Royce. I like your style, man. Okay, give me fastest engines. Ferrari, Lamborghini, but more reliable engines. Toyota, Lexus. Okay, good. What other nice things do we want? Wheels. We need wheels. Formula One, dirt road. What do you want? Good. Imagine if we built this car. Okay? Everybody closing their eyes, they're imagining this? Good. It's the best car in the world. I have one question for you. How long will you be able to drive that car? How often will this car be in service? And by the way, who will service it? My motivation to all of you in the series of talks from my peers before me that I've heard is to find, and one of the things in my next set of slides which talk about the examples, is to look at how everybody really focused on one key thing. How do you make sure you do all of that, as the gentleman from Oxford was talking about, and keeping it in your AI readiness? Be simple in your strategy. Make sure you iterate again and again and again in your planning cycle until you have the simplest version to implement. Now, the fact of the matter is, what's going to happen with anybody that is looking to do AI end-to-end? Has anybody talked to you about the fact that this stuff requires a different level of cooling in your data centers? Has anybody talked to you about that? Yes? You may have to completely tear down what you have and rebuild from the ground up. As you go about looking to do that, how do you make sure when you're given this God-given chance of a second chance, how do you do it right? So I want to start with a fun case study, one that I really love. In examples of real, this is the talk, right? Now we're into the talk. I have about 10 minutes. Real world examples. How many of you know Pixar? Raise your hands. Good. How many of you don't know Pixar's? Some people don't know if they do or do not know, but that's okay. How many of you know this movie, Elemental? Okay. When did this movie come out? Last year. Who said that? Good. If I told you that this movie was in Pixar's storyboard, done, dusted, shelved 7 years ago, but they didn't and they couldn't produce this movie, and I challenge you to tell me why, what would you say? Huh? Rendering. Cool. Keep going. Somebody, come on. Let's get some coffee in here. No, in the interest of time, because I do have very little time, I'll tell you. Toy Story was the first movie that Pixar made. It needed, I have some notes, about 300 cores in terms of compute power, just to keep things in a apples-to-apples comparison. The next big one was Monsters, Inc. Needed 672 cores. The next big one was Finding Nemo, 923 cores. How much compute power do you think this movie needed, Elemental? Oh my God, spot on. How did you know? It's in the bottom right there. 151,000 cores. They looked at it and they said, yeah, can't make this movie. So what happened? I'm not here to sell Vast, so let me tell you what they did. What they did is completely look at changing the way that they're handling their AI, handling their data infrastructure, handling the ability to provide data to the algorithms. Now, this is where I want to pause. Everybody's come here and talked about the importance of AI, right? How many people have talked about the importance of data? Exactly. It's assumed, and that is where the danger lies. That assumption of handling data today is unfortunately done in legacy architecture, designed for unstructured, structured data. There's somebody back there who's whispering along with me. You've probably been burnt once or twice in your life. Yes, he's shaking his head. Legacy architecture has been designed for structured data, big data. In fact, we as an industry of technologists have called big data by other names, thinking this is the future of AI. AI is very different. It requires different kinds of data, and you need to look at examples, real-world examples of how they've basically looked at radically efficient data lake infrastructures that usually requires companies and organizations that can handle unstructured data as well as structured data as well as different formats, all in a simplified platform. Which brings me to my next example. How many of you know Agoda? How many of you don't know Agoda? Still doing this pulse check. Anyway, Agoda is a company similar to Bookings.com. Similar to if you go to Qatar Airways and you're looking at tourism bookings, or if you go to Marriott or Hilton to do bookings. But Agoda, as the competitors will tell you, is significantly better. They know their customers better. They know when your birthdays are. They know when your details are. They know where your tourist locations are, and they present to you better opportunities and offerings. If you look at, let's not talk about Qatar Airways. Let's talk about Emirates Airlines. If you go to Emirates Airlines, their website is going to have a little static, dinky website that's going to say, here, you can go to Maldives, and we offer you this. That's our package. And you can go to any airline, and it'll be the same. Qatar Airways, American Airlines, they don't even offer that stuff, but whatever. Wherever you go, it'll be very static. Versus these guys, they provide dynamic content based on who you are, what you surfed, what you're doing around the web in your browsing history, and everything else they have about you. What's the difference? What is Agoda doing that is different? They are leveraging that data, the beauty that they have, that you guys are giving up to them. And when you look at what they're able to do versus the other players in the market, it's completely different. Something that, I know who you are. Anyway, so they're doing something completely different, right? In the interest of time, this is very important. Telcos. Telcos, I will tell you all. How many people here from telco? Telcos, I will tell you, I will present to you, I will posit to you, have a missed opportunity where the hyperscalers came around and telcos, which should have pivoted into that environment, missed a trick. Today, the telco entities are looking to pivot from telco to techco, we may call it. As they try to do that, the use cases of any telco entity is so diverse. They cater to health and life sciences, the tourism entity, the real estate, the banking, the research and development, all of these different entities. How do you as a telco reimagine big data infrastructure and look at being able to simplify your infrastructure stack so that you can offer that various different customer set, all of these kinds of use cases that they want to be able to handle, but do it in a manner that is simpler for you? Here's an example of a customer that is basically doing exactly that. Radical, doing all of that while ensuring that they're able to do a zero-trust, secure enterprise data platform. That's one of the things that is going to be very important in AI, which I think comes in my next slide. Oh, this one is interesting. I'm going to skip this one and this one. This is one of my favorite ones. This is the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They have they're trying to gather all of the world's data on genomics, on health and life sciences, whatever kind of medical research out there, with one ambition: to build what you see here, this is a theoretical idea, the virtual cell. When you do all of these biological experiments, you need something called a wet lab. In a wet lab, you do the blood sampling, tests and everything, and those test results take months, weeks to basically produce results. Their ambition is, how could we create a virtual cell, thereby allowing us to not need wet labs? How can we do that? Imagine the amount of data that is needed. That is a real-world example that is out there. So many good examples.
We're going to be faster. We're going to be easier to work with. We're going to be proactive where traditionally we've been reactive. The possibilities are nearly endless. There is probably no bank in the world with the data availability that HSBC has. We're in 62 markets across the world. We're one of the biggest payments providers in the world, biggest trade bank in the world, and arguably, full-scale retail, commercial, and global banking franchise. This technology is going to allow us to access data that we've never been able to get to in the past. I like to think about AI being the operating system of a bank. If we look today, banks are fundamentally built around people. And while there'll always be a role, and this is going to be a partnership between machine and human, I think it is going to flip. And I think AI is effectively going to be that operating system that underpins how a bank works and interacts with its customer, supplemented by humans who are better versions of themselves. We've got to balance that, though, with safe, ethically, and compliant technology. And the investment we need to make in that infrastructure to be able to capture that data, provision that data, and use that data safely underpins and is fundamental to how we use this technology in the future. There are lots of opportunities for banks to go into non-traditional revenue streams, but an obvious revenue stream for us would be to go into the information services business, to provide our customers insights not only about their banking, but their business model, how they compare to their competitors, how to expand internationally, how to improve their working capital cycles. These are all things we do today, but this technology will allow us to democratize that type of insight and capability to ultimately make our customers more efficient and more productive. It's good for them, and it has to be good for us.
So that's another use case of HSBC. Bottom line, and in closing, AI today is not new, but it is having its enterprise moment. And in that, remember this picture? Yes? I say to you that innovating at the speed of AI, if it is going to be truly an enterprise-based solution, requires you to remember three key things. A lot of people have left here and told you to think about three key things. Here's my three. Number one, that data that you're processing within your AI environment really needs to be something that you set up that you can access real time. A lot of models today work on, I have this data set, I will churn through it, and then I will churn through it again in a month, in a week, in a day, and so forth. How about being able to access it real time? And all kinds of different data types, files, objects, streams. You need to be able to think about hyperscale semantic databases, vectors and graphs. And security, this is extremely important. How do you make sure that you're looking at atomic security? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is when we come into a world where AI is building more AIs, and AI is that human-machine partnership, and AI becomes truly something that is conscious and has a mind of its own and is helping you not just answer questions, but make decisions on behalf of you. Decisions such as, what other AI tools do I need to make? When you come to an environment like that, and the data set that is feeding and training these constantly in real time in the near future, here's my question to you. How do you, in those 3 or 4 or 6 degrees of separation, ensure that the intern has different levels of access to that data than the CEO? At that point, within all of those different models, you need to be thinking about atomic security. Now, I want to end with this slide. How many of you like cakes? There's some people here that don't like cakes. Very weird. But anyway, this is very important. When you make a cake, eggs are a key ingredient. It's very important that as you make that cake, that you put the egg at the right time at the right place. What will happen if I serve up a cake and just drop the egg yolk like this on top of the cake? Will you eat it? No. Unfortunately, in today's world, what you see is that a lot of people are thinking about AI in the same way. They have some infrastructure, They're building that Frankenstein car that I put up earlier, and then they're thinking once the cake is out of the oven, I don't have AI. I think I'm just going to crack this yolk and drop on top. Doesn't work. All right? That's my talk. If you have any questions, please, I have a minute or two, and you can leave the questions on that QR code. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Shams Hasan. I predicted that he was going to be excellent, and I think I was proven correct. We don't have too much time for Q&A. If I could just start by disagreeing with you a little bit, because it's much more interesting. So, we speak a lot about AI readiness, and you opened the talk focusing on the need for AI readiness. What my experience has been of AI readiness is, in fact, analysis paralysis. Before we implement AI, we need to ensure that we assemble the appropriate framework. But before we decide on the framework, we really ought to define the KPIs that are the criteria by which we choose the framework. And it would surely be insanity not to populate a board or an oversight panel to manage this process. Months and months go by, and no effective decisions are taken leading to the successful adoption of AI. I'd like to counter that view with perhaps a parallel approach. If you're interested in using AI in your business, please follow the AI readiness footsteps that have been laid out for you today, but also just pick up the tools and play with them. Have some fun, discover how they work. The process of playing and enjoying these tools will itself organically crystallize possibilities to see how it could be useful for your organization. So temper your AI readiness approach with a little bit of joyful exploration as well. That would be my counterpart. Hans, what would you say to that?
I don't think that's a counter. I think that's on top of it. You use the word parallel. I think that's very much in parallel. I think in AI, what is important is there's stuff that you know you don't know, and that's fine. You can do that stuff with that. Unfortunately, in the world of AI, given how fast this stuff is, there's a lot of times stuff that you don't know. So what you're talking about has to be put in. How do you build KPIs for something that you don't know, that you don't even know? But the rest of what you're saying is very important. And we do that a lot with our customers. Even though we're a tech company, we find ourselves doing consulting a lot. Because we find ourselves trying to bring up what I call the AI IQ. How do you help that board, the senior leadership team, the N-1 under them, the actual soldiers that are going to have to build this sucker? How do you actually ensure the AI IQ comes up collectively? But yes, excellent. I agree with you, actually.
Excellent. So we have time for from one question from the floor. First hand gets it.
Talk was that good?
The presentation was so comprehensive. There are no questions left.
Okay.
So look, it just remains for me to thank you for just an excellent. I will remember the example of the Frankenstein car for the rest of my time at the show. Thank you so much. Shams Hasan, ladies and gentlemen.